everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist,
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up on the show today, Dan, we're going to be talking about, well, cults, the word cult.
Yeah.
Whether we grew up in a cult.
Right. Yeah, lots of questions. That word seems to be, it's a tricky word. And a lot of people have different ways of sort of delineating what is or isn't a cult. We're going to decide if that word's even useful at all.
Well, it's useful to get a rise out of people who belong to what they think is a religion.
Yeah, so. I think that's a super...
Want to piss off a Mormon? Tell them they're in a cult. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before we get on with the rest of the show, we have an announcement, Dan.
Yeah, we've talked about it. We talked about it a bit last week. We're going to be speaking again at the Conference on Death, Grief, and Belief. This is a conference. This one's virtual, so it's easy to attend. There are amazing speakers, which I suppose includes us. We are speakers, and there are also amazing speakers. But basically, we're talking shared wisdom, fearless exploration, and social support for unpacking toxic religious beliefs. I just read that straight off of the website.
Great.
So
fantastic.
it must be true. And specifically about facing loss and grief.
Yeah.
And it's a good time. It's really interesting stuff. If that is your bag, if it's something that interests you, please feel free to go to deathgriefandbelief.com and sign up. If you use the code TGIA, you get some money off. So that's nice. It'll cost you a little bit less. And there's so many really good people that are coming that are going to be speaking to you. So
indeed,
definitely worth it.
Well, that's great. And now we'll move on to the show.
And now for a show.
Now our show, Dan. This is a story coming to us from Arizona, Dan.
Ooh, I've been to there.
Specifically, their state house, their Capitol building, where one of the Democratic members of the Arizona House she sort of has taken up kind of the role of being a little bit of a prankster, I guess.
Okay.
One thing that she likes to do, and it should be noted that she's an ordained Presbyterian minister. But one of the things that she likes to do, and she's a Democrat, like I said, but she likes to take the Bibles that are sitting on the end tables in the House Members Lounge, and hide them, right? And so she's hidden them under seat cushions around the lounge. She put a Bible in the refrigerator.
Okay.
And she's described this little prank that she likes to play as a playful commentary on the separation of church and state and a small little protest against the weaponization of religion in politics.
It is separated. The church and state in the United States is separated by a refrigerator door.
If only, Dan.
Yeah.
If only there was at least that much separation. Well, anyway, the Republican members of the Arizona State House, they were outraged. And or at least they feigned outrage.
Yeah, that's probably more to the point.
They have tried to cast this whole thing as a desecration of Scripture. Some of them have commented that they may have unknowingly sat on the Bible when it was hidden under seat cushions.
Oh no!
This is Representative Justin Heap. He's one of 3 Republicans who filed an ethics complaint against Stall Hamilton. That's her name. He says, to do so is flagrantly offensive and something the House needs to take seriously.
Yeah.
He says the matter really comes down to a simple question. What do we as a body value more? The reputations of Arizona politicians or the reputation of God in the world?
Oh my God.
I know which side of that debate I come down on.
Yeah,
he says.
pastor lady,
right?
Minister so-and-so.
It was just maybe, I mean, who knows? She was probably, if you ask me, the story of it being like a commentary on the separation of church and state came after her just being just bothered that these Bibles were hanging out in a space where people should have, law on the mind.
Yeah. How about the Federalist Papers or fucking Constitution? I don't know, something.
Yeah. Well, these ethic complaints led to an attempt to expel Hamilton.
Of course.
The vote fell short of the 2/3 majority needed to kick her out.
Oh, bummer.
All the Democrats and 4 Republicans rejected the motion to expel.
4.
Only 4 of the Republicans. Let's see. Some other important details. The Bible is the only religious book hanging out in the
because
the lounge.
If there was a Bhagavad Gita or a Quran hanging out,
or
they
even
would immediately they wouldn't. I'll tell you what they wouldn't do. Something cute like put it in a fridge.
No,
they might burn it out in front of out on the Capitol lawn or something.
Yeah, that's probably the case. So anyway.
Oh Lord. Well, that's a failed expulsion.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about a not failed series of expulsions.
Oh, okay.
They're having the convention for the SBC, the Southern Baptist Conference, or is it convention or whatever it is? The SBC is having their the Southern Baptists are having their big convention this week down in New Orleans, and it's not going great. They are discussing a whole bunch of things. It's literally just a bunch of people with their heads up their asses, screaming at each other quite a bit of the time. But one of the things that they've been really having trouble with is that over the last year, there has been they have expelled a bunch of churches from, and by a bunch it's like 4, but they've expelled churches from being in their conference. And all for the same reason, and that is they got girls teaching church.
Oh no. Oh my God.
Including one of the biggest churches in the entire conference, Saddleback Church, which was Rick Warren's big church.
Yeah.
Warren has stepped down, and succeeding him is a man and a few women that they ordained as their ministers.
Okay.
And, ooh, do the Baptists just hate that? But this convention, they are suing to try and get reinstated. I don't know why. Why would you want to belong to a club that would not want you?
Mm-hmm.
But they're trying to get reinstated back into it. Saddleback is like literally, I think, was their biggest church in the entire convention.
Got great name recognition. That's one of the big ones.
Indeed.
How do you kick them out?
Apparently you just do it. And then there's some smaller ones too. What the New York Times profiled a woman who has been with her church for 30 years. She was the first woman to lead the congregation. She served in ministry longer than that. She started as a pianist at age 16. So this is not a new phenomenon, but they just barely gave her the boot. Even after
just finally started rubbing them wrong.
Yeah, they were like,
after
hang on.
This has bugged me for years.
There is that one single scripture that says that's bad. So let's just hold on to that. Yes, there are a lot of other scriptures that refute that single scripture, including, it's funny because the scripture that says the women shall stay silent in the church or whatever.
Yeah.
It's in one of the supposedly Pauline epistles. But it's not even Paul. It was written by a guy who wrote it well after Paul's death. And Paul himself, for his part, actually like talked about women apostles like Unia and stuff. So I don't know. The truth is that like when you have a bigotry, you really like holding on to it. It's fun to have a little bigot.
Well, yeah, and once you find your verse that props you up, like you're never letting go.
You're done. The conversation's over at that point.
Yeah.
Once you find the verse of the Bible that you're going to use as a bludgeon for the rest of your life,
got my one little verse
against one marginalized group or another.
Yeah,
that's your bludgeon. That's your favorite thing. So they're out there beating up the girls, and so that's fun. I kind of love it because they couldn't possibly. It's like they're trying to make sure that Gen Z never comes back to church.
Well, yeah. Oh, golly. Well, let them do it.
Yeah, there are other issues raised at the convention this year have been obviously abortion and like making sure that we don't ever support LGBTQ rights. So, yeah. They're really going out of their way to make sure that young people that they never have another young person walk through their church doors.
It's some of the best news I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
When they act this way toward groups, it's absolutely the thing to keep in mind, I guess. But it sucks for these people, right? Because they are being expelled from their community. Their people are saying, no, we don't want you.
Exactly.
And instead of just being like, oh, well, let's go find, the Anglicans, they'll take us.
Yeah.
They just fight to get back in. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a study recently came out that looked at atheists in this country. And
I've looked at atheists in this country too.
And specifically at they were wanting to investigate the psychological well-being of two groups of atheists, the rural residing and woman identifying atheists, in the context of anti-atheist discrimination. Okay. This is in the context of the fact that sort of the nuns, right? The religiously unaffiliated, which include atheists, of course, being the fastest growing religious group, quote unquote, religious group in the United States. There's still a stigma that we know about. We experience it a little, but we hear about it a lot from listeners, right?
Yeah.
And this is looking specifically into those areas and sort of verifying, not that it needed to be, but that the experience of these groups is not necessarily always a very positive one with regards to specifically like rural atheists.
Ugh.
Atheists living in small towns in this report cited experiences of sort of having a heightened sense of danger because of their non-belief. Rural atheists talked about a fear of violence more than urban atheists did, which makes sense. We know
in this country. I don't know but I mean, this is the country of like rednecks who want to kick your ass.
Yeah.
That's what this country is.
Yeah. Rural atheists also noted a lack of secular health care in smaller communities.
No shock there.
Particularly mental health care. And they reported that that healthcare, care in general, is often faith-based. And
totally.
Even and we've heard from listeners, even when it's not specifically faith-based, they still have doctors who are willing to cross that line, right?
Yeah.
They bring religion into the examination room, right? And as far as like woman identified atheists, this one was kind of interesting to me. This was not geographically set, right? This is just women in the country who are atheists and their experience and how they found atheism to be liberating from the general expectations of women who are rooted in faith. Shocking,
of
course.
Someone would feel liberated when they leave the group that has been oppressing them.
One of the things that women atheists reported is that the non-atheists automatically view them as sexually immoral. They find out they're atheist and they're like, oh, they must be having sex, right?
Right.
Out of the bounds of wedlock.
How dare they? Not on my watch, mister.
And so I thought it was great that this story kind of hit because it was not in a specifically atheist or religious news service that I found this. It was actually on the school's website for where the study was done. So,
well, there you go. Yeah. It isn't always easy to be one of us.
No,
that's just truth.
But it's really important when people look at these things and get these conversations going into, academia or where else. So,
yeah. And, if you're out there in the world and feeling isolated and like you might be all alone, you're not.
Right.
A lot of people are having the same experience you are. And I'm sorry about it. It sucks.
That doesn't make it easier, but
no.
I think it's really important to know.
Look up the Secular Therapy Project if you need.
Yeah,
if you need
absolutely.
some help. They're amazing. All right. Well, I am going to. Speaking of amazing, I actually have some decent little news here that I wanted to share, which is that we've talked about the fact that New York at one point did a moratorium on the statute of limitations for lawsuits about childhood abuse, especially of, sexual abuse of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, when New York did it, and it was only for 2 years, more than 10,000 lawsuits were filed.
Yeah.
A significant number of which were to do with church abuse, were to do with abuse of clergy or someone affiliated with a church who abused these people. Because here's the thing, people don't come out. They don't open up about abuse easily or quickly. It's not something that you can,
right.
You can't start the clock on statute of limitations when a kid has gone through a trauma.
Right.
And it takes a long time for that kid to actually process that trauma. And sometimes it can take, an adult can be in their 50s and finally, realize what they went through and how not okay it was.
Mm.
And meanwhile, these perpetrators continue on because, there haven't been consequences up until this point. Well, other states have sort of done similar things. Vermont removed limits on child sex crime lawsuits back in 2019. Maine did it in 2021, and Maryland did it this year. Well, Michigan, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts are all looking at doing exactly the same thing. So, I mean, half of this is just a story to just let people know like that this is a movement that's happening in the country. But also, if you live in one of those states and you were abused, you have this option now. This is something that is available to you, and there are resources out there to help you. And it's not, it doesn't solve the problem, but I think it is important. I think it's actually important that if you have the stamina and the wherewithal to file this kind of lawsuit, you may not care about the money, whatever reparations the court orders to be made may not be what's of interest to you. But if these organizations, even if it's not a church, if it's a, whatever, Boy Scouts or, a summer camp or whatever, we need to make them afraid of not policing this.
Right.
It needs to be clear to organizations that deal with children, especially, that it is their job to protect the children, not the abuser, not the priest, but the children. And they need to have the fear of God put into them. So I support this.
Yeah, I do too. Is this just for a limited sort of window of time? That
no, a lot of these
are they just getting rid of it?
They're just getting rid of it.
Okay, good. Because I know some places have been like, oh, hey, like for like the next 2 years or something.
Yeah.
Like, didn't California do it that way, or somebody did it that way?
I know New York did it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know what other states did.
Okay. But good. So just getting rid of it. Well, that's important because it's recognizing, because the crimes that don't have statutes of limitations tend to be really heinous ones, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no statute of limitations on murder.
Right.
Right. And that, I think that's so important to put these crimes in that same category.
Yeah.
Right. As it's so heinous that it doesn't matter when it happened.
Yep. If it's
you have to
if
be
it's
brought
50
to
years later, that's fine.
Yeah.
Go get them.
This wasn't, on par with, I don't know.
Yeah. It's not a speeding
grand
ticket.
larceny or something, right?
Right. Yeah, it's not embezzlement.
Right.
This is a child's life.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this story, Dan. So a little old library here in the state of Utah, library system, I guess. The Orem City Library.
Sure.
Orem is right next to Provo.
Yeah.
Down in Utah County. Very Mormon, very, very, very Mormon area.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, Orem. I'm sorry, people in Orem, but just a wasteland.
Oh,
right?
It's a shit show. That whole fucking valley is just a throwaway at this point.
Well, I mean, so here's the deal. Like you can Provo, total shit show, right? Total crazy conservative place. But it's got like a cute little downtown, like with some cute
they have
buildings.
A bar.
They have a bar. Yeah. Orem is just big wide streets and just little old houses, right? And it's just for as far as the eye can see. There's nothing interesting about Orem.
And every like 2 blocks a Mormon church.
That's true too. Anyway, so they're So the library down there had been doing what libraries do, which is they have like little displays for whatever sort of current in the world,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of different like times of the year that they put out stuff. Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, Native American History Month. They put out nice little displays
of books that you could read were you to find yourself interested in the subject.
In that topic. Exactly. Thank you for clarifying that. Well, they crossed a line, Dan.
Oh, no.
And they decided that they were going to have Pride Month display.
Oh, no.
And last year, the Orem City officials banned the Orem Public Library from setting up any Pride Month themed displays in the library's children or teen sections.
Jesus Christ.
And so this caught the attention of the Utah Library Association, the ULA, which called on the city to reverse the ban. Instead, the city enacted further bans, and they went on.
Because you don't dare Orem to get worse.
And they prohibited the library from making any Heritage Month themed displays like the ones we were just talking about.
Yeah, because that's woke bullshit.
It is notable, I suppose, that the ban did not apply to other holiday themed displays such as Christmas or the 4th of July.
Of course not. And if there were a White History Month, that would be okay too.
Oh boy, if Orem did that. Let's see. The ULA criticized that decision, saying this act of censorship is not only a disservice to the Orem community, but also an act of overreach by city government. The library is both a legal and a symbolic embodiment of the fundamental American value that we all have the right to self-direct, think for ourselves, read, learn, and engage with ideas and information without government interference.
Yeah, I don't think that's a value in Orem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's becoming a decreasing value throughout the country.
So the city retaliated again.
Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you. I was waiting. I was concerned that maybe they weren't going to be even more of an asshole than they already were.
So ULA, the Utah Library Association, offers professional development programs. Right? It's one of the services that they provide. And the city has barred library employees from using any of those development classes and whatnot. And the city also threatened library employees with discipline if they criticized city official censorship of the Heritage Month themed displays. Yeah. And when news of the ban went public, city officials even conducted a lengthy inquisition among library staff, interrogating them, trying to figure out who spoke to a former employee about the policy.
Of course.
They found their culprit, they reprimanded the person, and took away their pay raise.
We are not the Gestapo. Why are you calling us this? This is not, no, you're using Gestapo tactics. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. So anyway, this is an ongoing kerfuffle down there. Yeah, it's not cool. What's going on with the Orem Public Library? Apparently, I guess one of the latest things to really get people all riled up is there was an email, I think, that went out from one of the library directors, reminding everybody of the city's social media policy that bars city employees from making disparaging comments about the workplace, city policies, supervisors, coworkers, citizens, blah, 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 blah. The list goes on. It prohibits posting any information to any blog, social networking sites, or any public internet site that would discredit or disparage the city. And so they're just fucking going after these employees who, if they happened to, I don't know, get maybe an unfair parking ticket or something, they cannot mention it anywhere on Facebook or otherwise. And of course,
tell them not to listen, if you are a public employee of Orem, do not recommend this show, at least not this episode of any show, to anybody, because we are disparaging that city handily because it is a fucking disaster of a city and they should be embarrassed as shit. There you go.
Wow, Dan.
Well, they brought it on themselves. Well, I'm going to close this out in Germany. Where they have every 2 years they have the I'm not going to say it in the German. It's the Deutsche Evangelische Kirchentag in German, which is an evangelical sort of I think largely Lutheran convention where they all get together. It's a different place every year, every 2 years. This year it's near Nuremberg. And one of the events that was widely attended at this year was a church service by an interesting up and coming new member of the clergy, the Right Reverend ChatGPT. That's right. It was an entire service crafted and presented by AI.
No.
So the whole thing was...
that's weird.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It was done by a guy from the University of Vienna named Jonas Simmerlein, and so he basically, like 98% of it was just the AI did it. He gave it prompts. He, you know what I mean? And then let it go. And they used AI generated avatars.
Oh no.
To give it, which is funny because the only complaints that I read about were that the avatars were kind of, dead-eyed and unfeeling and blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. I know for a fact that pastors all over the world are now using the chat
already using it. Yeah.
To write their stuff. You know what I mean? Because they have one job and it's just to write a sermon. And even if they go back through it and change it, I mean, when you got the writer's block, you got to come up with something for Sunday. Why not sit down to ChatGPT and just be like, hey, you're a pastor of my church now. Write up a sermon about forgiveness or about blah, 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 whatever it is. And here's the thing. It'll do a better job than half of the pastors out there. You know what I mean?
More than half.
There's so many bad pastors and priests out there.
There's just wow. It's are they just trying to get everybody ready for the computer overlords? Like are they just what are they it's so are they so conditioned to being to submitting to authority that they're just this is just another authority you're going to have to submit to. So you might as well get used to it.
Look, we're just going to hand over the reins.
Yeah.
I think if nothing else, what they're kind of tacitly admitting without wanting to, and of course there were lots of complaints because blah, 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 but 90% of them were just about, the video avatar
That's what bothers them.
Delivering this. It wasn't about the message, because I got news for you. The message hasn't changed much for 2,000 fucking years. It's boring as shit. Anybody can do it. If you're a decent writer and a decent orator, you can win at the pastor game.
Yeah, but this thing has access to everything that's ever been written, right? So it's going to be slipping in a little bit of John Lithgow from Footloose,
Yes.
It's going to
100%.
You got to be careful,
I'm guessing why do you got to be careful? Literally, it will go entirely unnoticed. It's all recycled bullshit. It is all oatmeal mush out there in the world. There's nothing new under the sun. If nothing else, ChatGPT and AI might actually put some new thoughts together in a way that haven't been done before. Just because it does have access to so much more information than any single human has. Who knows? Who knows? It'd be better than most of the talks I heard in Mormon church. I'll say that.
Oh, people for Sunday.
Oh,
who
Mormons
get tapped to do a talk on Sunday, right?
Because it's not paid clergy at Mormon church. It's all just the congregation. Yeah, that's happening.
Oh my God,
that is 1,000% happening.
and everybody's like, you know what? The talks have gotten a lot better lately. What's going on?
Sister Johnson really gave a humdinger of a talk. Oh, Lord.
She might, if she better be careful, she's going to end up in the Relief Society presidency.
Well, yeah, exactly. There you go. Well, if you think that ChatGPT is the wave of the religious future and you'd like to tell us about it, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message and tell us all about it. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up.
Well, Frank,
Dan.
it's Christmas time.
Really?
It may be June, but that doesn't mean we can't have Christmas in the form of Pastor Kent Christmas. We've had him on before.
Okay, yeah, all right.
I would say he looks like he's supposed to be on The Sopranos, but nobody told him. Anyway, he's going to tell us all about. He knows why Christianity seems to be flagging a little bit.
Oh,
He's not okay with lackadaisical Christianity anymore.
Right.
And he's got a comparison to make.
Okay. All right.
You want to know why the Muslim faith has had its advancements? It's because the Muslims were willing to die for their belief. They were willing to strap bombs to their chest. They believed in the afterlife. God, give us some men and women that'll get a hold of some passion in their spirit that says, I will lay down my life for the gospel.
Oh.
Oh,
Dan, your setup there, I was expecting some introspection. You know where I think Christianity might be failing right now.
have you listened to our show, Frank?
We
Because feel that shit doesn't go down. Not here. Is he trying to raise up new forms of Christian terrorism? Is that because it sounds like he's trying to make new forms of Christian terrorism?
According to him, the Muslims are doing so great because they're willing to strap bombs to themselves.
You want to know what's great about the Muslims? All of that suicide bombing. That's where they really have that's where they're really going
that's
right.
Their edge. That's their edge that they've got on us.
Good Lord, Kent Christmas, what are you doing? All right.
Oh, he took totally the wrong lesson from like 9/11. He was like, those people are going places. Those people they've got gumption.
That was multiple buildings they just took down all in a day. And that is commitment. I am impressed.
God.
I am impressed.
That was his takeaway.
Good Lord.
That was his takeaway. Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, I don't feel like we're really putting too many words into his mouth right now. Right.
He referenced strapping bombs to their chest. Like, that was his, this is what's going right in Islam. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? All right. Well, while he's being crazy, we've got a voicemail that we're gonna play. What's this thing?
We do indeed, Dan. This is a listener calling about that new documentary, Shiny Happy People documentary series.
The Duggarses.
The Duggars. I've started it. Sounds like you might have finished it by this point. I think it's going to be every night until it's done. It's pretty quick, right? Like just a few episodes.
I think it's 4 episodes.
And then, but yeah, so this is what they have to say.
Okay.
Hello, my godless friends. This is Alina from Texas. You were talking about how with Pat Robertson, there was part of this deliberate plan to change America over the last 40 years in the last week's episode. And I wanted to know if you had seen the new documentary on Amazon, I believe, about the Duggar family and their church and where it came from. And they specifically have a actual plan to train young Christians as people coming up in homeschool to go to law school, to become law clerks, or to run for office, or to work behind the scenes in the government. And they specifically, their stated goal is to take over and change the country. And they even have like a paramilitary ROTC for kids. I was curious if you guys saw that. It just adds a little sparkle to what you said.
I object to that kind of sparkle. Oh, yeah. Thanks for the call.
Yeah.
That's our friend of the show.
Yeah. We can let this be a teaser. Like we've talked about, we want to talk about this next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, this what is happening in America that has caught so many of us off guard, right? It has been a long project by not even just this one group. Like there are so many conservative groups that have been planning a radical conservative takeover of the country. So yeah, it's terrifying, and we'll dig into it next week.
We definitely will. But it's not okay.
Yeah.
And you're right. It is a concerted effort. It is not just haphazard. Yeah. They have plans. They enact them, and
we need
freaky.
Plans. What's wrong with us? Plans?
It just sounds exhausting. There's no way I couldn't do it. Well, friends, here we are. We're doing a show for you, and if you appreciate it and have the means and the wherewithal, we'd sure appreciate it if you would become a patron of our show. It's a wonderful thing to do. It helps keep us going, and you get magic powers that don't actually work to boot. So it's all upside. If you come in at the right level, you'll get this Frank and Dan diary, which is extra content every week. And it's pretty easy. All you have to do is part with a little bit of your money. You choose how much. Just go to thankgodimatheist.com. Click on the support button. You can choose between, on the right-hand side, you've got Patreon. I recommend going to there, but you can also do a one-time donation or a monthly donation over on PayPal. It's all up to you. But every little bit helps. So we sure do appreciate all of our patrons. Frank, we've got somebody to thank.
We do. Our top donor, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up. Well, Frank.
Dan.
Yeah, we've used the term many times on this show and even many times on this episode of this show. But cult is a word that it's loaded.
Oh yeah.
It is a heavy word. It is a word that can easily be used to, as we referenced earlier, to hurt and offend people, for instance, in Mormonism.
Great for that.
Or if you have a Scientologist friend that you really want to just stick it to, you can throw that word around.
Yeah.
And I've become aware of the fact that in academia, they're leaning away from that word.
No.
In part because it has that weight.
I love that word.
And I do too. And here's the thing. I've been thinking about the use of that word. And I've been thinking about like how I feel about letting go of it. And my first instinct was like, fuck no, that word is useful. Yeah. There are religions out there that are insane and that lead their followers to do awful things.
Yeah.
And that are very intense experiences that do real harm and damage. And then I asked myself, but wait a minute. Did I just describe cults or did I just describe religion?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Conceptually. And sure, there are religions that do less harm than other religions and religions that do more harm, but really...
But don't
why
they all,
the distinction?
Isn't that great though? They all do harm.
They all do
isn't
harm.
That the implication of what you just said? There's some that do less.
I stand by that. I feel like there is just going to be harm where there is magical thinking, where there is religion. There's some harm.
Sure.
The question is just how much harm, and do we use a word that is meant to indicate extra harmful? Like, I mean, really, when you boil it down, and different people have very different definitions for that word.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I use it to describe the great little cult that we grew up in.
The
Mormons.
The LDS Church is a high demand religion.
High demand. That's what. Yes.
It asks of its people a lot.
Yeah.
Gives very little in return. And it's super intense in terms of not only like how much of your time it demands, but your energy and your it's there to make you feel like shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And whether or not like an actual functioning definition of what a cult is, whether or not that can be applied to Mormons, they most definitely started as a cult.
Well, that's the thing. You and I were discussing cults, and we were saying like, well, what about Jim Jones? Like Mormons aren't Jim Jones. They didn't run off to Guatemala and then everybody had to kill themselves.
No.
But guess what?
They moved west.
They ran off to Mexico.
What was then Mexico? Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
Here,
yeah.
This is like that's what they were trying to do when they came here to Salt Lake City. It was at the time a part of Mexico. A year later, it became no longer Mexico, but that's what they were doing when they came here.
Yeah.
It does seem it's so. I mean, I think the truth is that what happened was Mormons got lucky because there was everything culty about Mormonism, especially when it started. It was high demand. The leader was having sex left and right with he was marrying them.
Yeah.
But he was doing it. He was so unethical. He was sending men away from their wives on missions, in far reaches of the world, and then taking their wives and marrying them himself. He was like, that is the definition of a cult leader.
Yeah.
And then, as with many cults, the second guy, like you look at Scientology, and L. Ron Hubbard was like flamboyant nutball.
Right.
And then the second guy tends to be like crazy asshole. And that's what happened with Mormonism too.
Ooh,
second guy, Brigham Young, crazy asshole.
Yeah. Like for realsies.
And if you make it past second guy, you have a chance at being a religion instead of a cult.
Yeah. Well, you got to have the one person who comes along who's like, what we could use is maybe like not being so fucking weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Could we maybe just, can we just focus on like seeming normal? Can't we do that?
I mean, weirdness at the beginning of a cult is a feature, not a bug.
Right.
Weirdness is what draws people in. Oh, they're so different. Oh, it's so welcoming and it's so blah blah blah. It's not like my Catholic upbringing at all. It's so unique. Weirdness.
I don't get the mentality of. I mean, of course, this is coming from me. But like, because like if people are being too nice, I'm immediately just like, excuse me? What? Like, I don't want to have anything to do with you, right?
You are suspiciously kind. I'm not okay with
that. That is totally something that I'm always on the lookout for. I'm like, why are you being nice?
Yeah. Well, that's what being raised Mormon might do to you. The land of all smiles and
it's like
the pacifist of all the aggressions. But yeah, it is interesting how that's the hook, right? Yeah. All the cults have something just we love and accept you like nobody else ever will. And it's gonna be great, and we have a couple of weird things, man. You're gonna have to give up coffee, which I know that's weird, but you'll trust me. You'll really feel good about it when you do it. And then down the road, it's like, oh yeah, and like you don't trust anybody that isn't one of us, and don't trust any, never think outside of our religion, and everybody else is out to get you, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, they don't tell you about the funny underwear on day one.
So. Right, or the insane rituals in the temple or whatever.
Yeah, Exactly.
However, but again, I keep going back to our other religions, that no one would call a cult. Let's say Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would say that's a cult. That's a religion. But is it a religion just because the weird shit about them we've all just gotten used to? Like, it's been around for so long that we don't even like imagine, we don't even think about it as weird anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you've got that guy's finger in a box over there. Oh,
And you
that seems
venerate it.
normal.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay. Oh, you're praying to the finger. Is that what you're doing? You're praying to the finger of a guy? Oh, okay. Oh, you're eating a snack. What is that? Oh, it's the body of your Savior? You're saying that that's the body and the blood of Christ. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, every bit is cultish, but, it's been around for too long. We can't call it a cult anymore.
Well, every bit is bizarre for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people who are raised strict Catholic feel a lot of the same, like, difficulties that you and I felt coming out of Mormonism. There's still all the guilt and all of there's all of this, messed up ideas about how you're going to be punished for eternity because you're gay, or you're going to be, you jerked off too many times and now you're going to go, now the devil's got you, or demons. There's so much that messes people up.
Yeah.
In all the religions.
Right.
That I almost agree that the word cult is kind of useless, because it's just all of them. I don't know. The other thing is that, like, it's hard to have a productive conversation with someone, because the second you've applied the word cult, if they're on board with it, they're already on your team. And if they're not on board with it, they're going to be so deeply offended they don't want anything to do with you. They've stopped listening anyway.
Well, I mean, how do they respond to some of these other descriptions? I mean, the hackles go up really quick as soon as you start to, like, talk about Mormonism as an outsider to a Mormon.
Well, that's true.
Right. And it doesn't matter how, what kind of, kid gloves you've put on. Right.
Yeah.
You cannot talk about it objectively to a Mormon without them getting offended.
Yeah.
Right.
It's pretty rough. They, like so many Christians in the world and others, are so excited to be oppressed, to be persecuted, that if you give them any reason to believe that you're persecuting them, they're going to latch onto that like they're hitching their wagon to a horse. They are stoked to be offended about it. They are ready. So yeah, I guess you're right. Like, there's nothing you can do. You're just gonna get that reaction. Yeah. I don't know. Go ahead and use the word cult if you want to.
Yeah. The question is, how long does it take you to get the reaction? Is it instantaneous?
Yeah.
Or is it after they sort of pick up on what you're actually saying?
Yeah.
Right?
Can you go 5 minutes? Can you go 15? How deep into this can you get before the hackles are up? Oh man. All right. Well, if you would like to tell us why the word cult is special to you, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call us and leave a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button, will you?
And if you'd like to join one of our members only lounges, we've got one on Facebook and one on Discord. Go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members only for instructions.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much to the Red Hot Rock Club, or the Red Rock Hot Club, for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.